Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of, I believe it's episode 8 of TCE Talks. So last time I was trying to talk a little bit about how the various parts of the TCE system fit together. I didn't get into much detail about Bob Civiletti's 5 articulations, and so without giving all the secrets away, I'll brush over the purpose of those. Being that Bahb Civiletti is, or has been for some time, primarily a Baroque trumpet player, all of the way that his mind works, and something that's rubbed off fairly heavily on me as well, is to think of the trumpet as being like 7 natural trumpets. Hence the title of my book, The 7 Bugles, that you can buy on neotericbrass.com. The premise is that you have the entire harmonic series available to you in 7 configurations of length of tubing on the instrument. And so when you are building up the habits, or building up the strength, or learning how to effectively, consistently produce all of the notes that are available on the trumpet or any brass instrument, the way that you should do it is by working up and down the harmonic series in steps and leaps using a number of different articulations. Now, the purpose of the articulations is to build up strength in different parts of the tongue. This is something that Jerome Kallett did not believe was necessary, but for me, it helped me a lot when I was developing this technique, not only to really ingrain the habit of keeping the tongue in the correct position, but also to A, stop me thinking about what that tongue position is, and B, be able to apply this technique to music, something that doesn't actually get discussed very often. So by practicing harmonic exercises, what most people would call lip slurs, using spit attack, the slurring, an attack that's further back in the mouth, and a staccato breath attack, and various combinations of those, one can develop the habit, the skill, to articulate in different ways. And I also think that it really sort of sets you up for being able to tongue hardly to tongue more, obviously tongue hard, but also to be able to tongue soft, and to develop a lighter attack. So one of the parts of Bob's exercises in the Trumpet Secrets book, which is repeated in his TCE training manual, is how to develop articulation for uneven articulations for correct interpretation of Baroque music. And it's, very similar to what people call doodle tonguing. I included Randy Brecker talking about how doodle tonguing is effectively arching the tongue between the teeth, which is like TCE. In the previous video that I made, and yes, but Bahb Civiletti has confirmed to me in the past in conversation that he's taught jazz players who have come to him and said, "Look, your Baroque articulation exercises are exactly what we do when we play jazz." And so, yeah, I think this is something that I had battled with a little with, when I was really studying jazz transcriptions a little more during 2019 and 2020. How to apply this TCE style approach to articulation to to sort of playing in that more sort of more appropriately jazz style articulation. And actually what I found, very similarly to when I was working hard on double and triple tonguing with this technique, was that by allowing myself to break the rules and take one step away from perfect execution, and then practice with the correct sound over time, and not even a long time, but over the period of a couple weeks, the tongue would step back towards the correct position once it had figured out what it was supposed to be doing. Now, when I say when the tongue figured out, what I'm actually talking about is, your subconscious brain putting pieces together. I think my habits, I talk about habits a lot, but really what I'm talking about is the path. Oh, what's the expression? The path that's the path most walked through my brain in terms of muscle memory, and making an attack on the trumpet is very very much the TCE way. Now my tongue is anchored on the bottom lip. It is arched through the teeth. I feel both lips before I attack, and then it's a basic spitting action in order to create sound. Now that if I want to do a softer attack, or if I want to doodle tongue, or if I want to double and triple tongue, I may need to let go of that, of strictly trying to play in that way whilst I practice. But over the course of a couple of weeks, it will work the tongue, once it's figured out what it is I'm trying to teach it, it will work its way back to the correct position, and I'll still be able to do those things with the tongue in the correct position. That's the value of really working on these things over a long period of time, which is why I use terms like the TCE system, or I talk about how what we are doing is tongue development, is embouchure development, it's technique development. It's not designing an embouchure and then going, okay, well, I'm just going to tongue everything really hard for the rest of my life. That's not what this is. That's what a lot of people really misunderstand, is that, we spend time building up strength in the tongue by playing short, sharp, loud attacks for long, for a large proportion of our practice. But that's only to pave the way for correcting the easiest way to master all the hard stuff on the trumpet. Anyway, without derailing myself too much, that's what the 5 articulations is about. So Einsätzen, referring back to the last video, Einsätzen, Ansätzen is what teaches us the correct way to position things and how to move the lips properly, if we move them at all. That's just kind of a subject that I brush over at times. And then the spit buzzing, how it is teaching us about pressurizing air in the mouth, how it is teaching us about the physical sensation of note production. And then the 5 articulations exercises, which are developing the strength in the tongue and the habit, and paving the way for being able to develop advanced articulation techniques that are otherwise undescribed by other systems, or at least not in an effective way. That's how far we've got now. The other thing I want to mention, which I've kind of talked about inadvertently already, is the idea of simply just tonguing on the lips. I talk a lot with people about the idea of stepping stones, and how you're just not going to have the strength in the tongue to have it in the TCE position all the time when you first start with this stuff. Just look back at that horrendous video that I posted before I started doing TCE talks, of me in the early months of trying to master the exercises from the Master Super Chops DVD, and how things just fall apart. My sound was awful. No sensible person would really have carried on or pursued this stuff, but I heard something in that sound that I knew was right, or knew I'd heard from excellent players before, and I had to pursue it. And in all honesty, I didn't really have a lot to lose. I've talked about all that stuff in the beginning anyway, because I wasn't doing a lot of professional playing in those days. Something that changed a lot when I got into doing the TCE thing. But yeah, so all I was going to say is that just for people, this is more for people who are new to the idea of this. If you're practicing Einsätzen and Ansätzen, and then you learn to articulate by touching the inside of the top lip with the tip of the tongue, very much in that spitting seeds way that's in the video I made last week, then over time you'll find that as you play higher in pitch and as you play faster in tempo or note values, the tongue will move less and less. And what you'll end up doing over time is anchoring the tongue in the forward position, whether it was intentional or not. And then really the changing from tongue on lips to tongue controlled embouchure position is a matter of flicking a switch and deciding that you're going to practice differently. And that's then you can start building things on top of that with the 5 articulations and other such things. Another very helpful tool that's often a little bit confused is that Jerry Callett used to talk about tongue stopping. This is one of the first things that sort of shocked me when I read his website in 2012. And he's talking about how every note is started with a tongue stop. And it's I'd go so far as to say it's a revolutionary idea. Tongue stopping in and of itself is not revolutionary. I think it says a lot about people's technique when they're able to tongue stop without it sounding like a nasty sort of squelching sound. Because it means that they're not moving their tongue that far away from the lips. If you're able to just to stop the air with a minuscule movement of the tongue, then then that says that your tongue is probably in a better position than if you're not able to do that. But one of the things with doing tongue stops is that it's reinforcing that idea of it's actually kind of teaching us what articulation is. And I know this idea upsets a lot of experts out there, but articulation by definition is interrupting the airflow with the tongue. And so if you're stopping a sound with the tongue and then playing another note immediately afterwards, then yes, the second note has started with a tongue stop. Now you combine that idea with the tonguing on the lips idea, and you're a hell of a lot closer to the TCE tongue action than you were before. So again, something else that you can use to build upon ideas in order to get us to closer to doing the TCE thing. Now, I think at some point I may do a whole video on my interpretation of the Super Chops material, because I think that it's not something that I instinctively include when talking about the TCE system, because we've got Einsätzen and Ansätzen from the early days, we've got the TCE tongue position from not particularly later days, maybe from the mid-1990s or even early 1990s. But the Super Chop stuff is important as well. And actually, when people come to me for advice about trumpet chop issues, that's what I refer to first. Because I think that there's an awful lot of information in the Super Chops book that outlines, a better way of understanding what some people would refer to as aperture control and others would call lip-to-lip compression. But in any case, there's a lot of information there about what not to do when you change pitch on the trumpet. And obviously that includes tightening the corners, flattening the chin, stretching the top lip, all of this sort of business. And there's talk in that book about correct use of air as well, which is interesting, and it helped me a lot. It has helped me a lot with playing different genres of music, because our approach to air usage is going to be different depending on the style of music we're playing. So really all I just want to sort of get to in terms of tying all of this up is just to talk about how I actually believe that almost all of this stuff is relating to the correct use of air. I can remember when I used to hang around on the Trumpet Herald forum quite a lot, more lurking and reading than posting, because most of my posts were argumentative, either in that people argued with things that I said or I disagreed with what other people had said. And one such comment was somebody had said, 99% of trumpet playing is the correct application of air. And I don't agree with it being 99%, but percentages aside, if we were to say 90%, that would be, I don't even think that's true, but if we were to say that 90% of trumpet playing is the correct application of air, can we start by defining what the correct application of air is, please? Because I'm pretty sure that whoever it was that was saying that would firmly disagree with me on that topic. But this is the thing, is that for me, converting to TCE from a traditional way of playing was a matter of learning to stop overblowing, learning to stop using air as a means of, the whole idea that you're blowing air from one end of the trumpet through to the other. And as a result of that way of thinking, my lips were always collapsing into a mouthpiece, because I played on large mouthpieces and they needed to fill that space because it was the only way I could play because of my use of air. And you could say that actually, when it comes to it, whether you're thinking the old super chops lip movement or the TCE tongue position or any other 3-letter acronym, that actually what we're doing here is tongue-controlled release of air, or tongue-controlled correct application of it. No, I was right before. It's tongue-controlled release of air. So we could call it TCRA, can't we? And then we can start pretending that embouchures don't exist again. Nah, sorry, I'm just being facetious, but that's the thing, is that I think that we, ultimately we develop a quality embouchure, which for us, for TCE guys, includes the tongue, so that the correct application of air is effective. I think that our use of air and the embouchure, they develop together, and that doing one at the expense of the other, or doing one and pretending that the other one isn't important, or that the other one will develop appropriately. The embouchure will not develop appropriately as a result of your approach, a result of your approach to air. I don't believe that. But there we go. That's just sort of getting political about people's approach to teaching, really. But so I've said all the things. Let's tie it up before I start. If I try to just summarize, I'm going to end up rambling again, and this video will be twice as long. So hopefully in this video and the previous one, you have heard a bit of a summary of how all the parts of the TCE system fit together. I'm already thinking about something I didn't say about tonguing on the lips, but I'm going to leave it. It's not massively important. It would definitely be a tangent. So that's outlined what the TCE system is. It sort of shows, I hope, how and why I believe that we need to be doing things like, we need to do all of the parts of the system, the Einsätzen, Ansätzen, the spit buzzing, the 5 articulations, and then using all of those tools to pave the way towards more advanced techniques. Yes. I always get to the end of a video and think about the topic of another. You'll have seen that happen quite a few times. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.